die hoof van the birthing team, Dr. Manyonga, kuier vanoggend saam met ons en gee ons raad oor geestesgesondheid vir nuwe ouers, veral postnatale depressie tydens die grendeltydperk. So good morning and thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Hi, good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Dr. Manyonga, what are some of the signs and symptoms of postnatal depression?
So the postnatal depression, I think we must clarify that there is naturally something called the baby blues that happens within 3 to 4 days of giving birth, and that's when a new mother feels very low, overwhelmed, and feelings of sadness that typically dissipates over the next week or so. But when we're talking now about postnatal depression, we're talking about something that is more profound in terms of the symptoms, so very low emotional mood, a feeling of being overwhelmed, hopelessness, loss of pleasure in the things that you would normally enjoy, tearfulness, and etc., etc. And that is much longer lasting, and that could, if not treated timely, progress to full-blown chronic depression. So quite a severe medical condition that has an effect on the way the mother bonds with her baby.
Yes, and it sounds like a huge emotional challenge. How are these feelings compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic?
So yeah, quite an interesting question in that the typical experience after childbirth, it's a family event where the aunties, the mother, and so on are all coming together to give the new mother support. So in this COVID lockdown, that kind of social support is not forthcoming because all of us are cooped up in our houses, and clearly that feeling of isolation is definitely compounding that feeling of loneliness and being overwhelmed, and the fact that you're not getting the physical assistance that you would normally get if we were not during a lockdown. So clearly quite a negative thing for the lockdown and how it interacts with the onset and experience of postnatal depression.
Dr. Howard, your name here, what was very interesting for me was to see that 1 in 10 men suffers from postnatal depression. And for me, that was a big surprise. But now, thinking of lockdown time, all of a sudden, we've got friends with a new baby, and he's amazing. But all of a sudden, the dad basically plays the role of the wife's lady friends that comes to help, or a mother-in-law, or her own mother, because they're in lockdown. Maybe, some dads are under immense pressure than normal dads in a normal situation. Do you think, am I correct saying that?
Yeah, well, so a very interesting phenomenon that really has become much more better understood in the past decade or so, in that men actually do experience postnatal depression as well. But this could, just like in the female partner, begin during the antenatal period, that is, during pregnancy. And it is not completely understood its physiology. I mean, in the woman, we know that the changes of the hormones that happen after the birth do predispose to the onset of depression. But in the case of the man, I suppose it's a sympathetic thing that you are checking in some of the emotions from your partner, but it can, just like in the women, become quite severe and also might need attention separate from that given to the mother.
Since we are referring to both...
Oh, Mike. Ek gaan net weer, daar's iets fout met jou mikrofoon. Ek sal sommer gou kyk waar was dit vraag 4.
3.
Vraag 3. Sorry, doctor. We've got a problem with Elsa's mic. What challenges does the lockdown present to new parents?
Well, as I've already said, the biggest challenge is that sense of isolation, that you're just cooped up in the house just as a nuclear family without the support of the extended family. and also access to healthcare workers may be limited. I think it is now well documented that hospitals and doctors have experienced a severe drop in the number of patients visiting them. In some cases, up to 60% of the volume is gone. And clearly, that would include people with postnatal depression. So in a sense, the effect of COVID is beyond just the lack of social support. It's also affecting how affected patients interact with their midwives, interact with their general practitioners, and so on. And all those things put together means that the feeling of loneliness and the lack of support are much more severe during the lockdown than we would normally experience in normal times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll continue with this discussion in a short while. Ons gaan voortbid vanoggend se gesprek met die hoof van The Birthing Team, Dr. Manyonga, wat saam met ons kuier om ons 'n bietjie raad te gee oor geestesgesondheid vir nuwe ouers, veral postnatale depressie, en dit dan nou tydens die grendeltydperk. So thanks again for joining us, Dr. Manyonga.
Pleasure.
Are pregnant women more vulnerable to contracting COVID-19?
That's a very interesting question. I think initially there wasn't a lot of data coming through to evaluate the risks for pregnant women. But I think as time has gone on, it's become quite clear that pregnant women are at perhaps a slightly increased risk of getting COVID virus. And I mean, generally, the immune system of pregnant women is a little fast compared to a healthy pregnant patient. So if this might be a little more severe in pregnant women, and clearly there is also emerging and more information that
So no, Dr. Howard, we're losing your signal there. So luckily, this problem happens with BBC and CNN. Dit gebeur oral. Ek het nog regtig gekyk internasionale nuus en almal doen dit op Skype en as jy 'n ou verloor dan verloor jy hom.
Ja, presies. En hulle sê ook gewoonlik, I think we've just lost. En dan sal hulle die gas se naam noem.
Ja.
En dan ook verduidelik, jy weet, dis die tyd waarin ons osself nou deesdae bevind.
So ek weet as dit miskien 'n bietjie van 'n irritasie is, vergewe vir ons.